Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from Second Cup Studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can always support us at patreon.com/babykangaroomedia for bonus episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, the Joey Harris Super Show, the Green Room, the Book Club Baristas, so much more. There's so much content over there. There's also free content over there, so you can join for free. But if you want everything, just $5 a month for hours of extra content. If you'd like to support the show in another way, you can at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am on Cash App and Venmo at the Joey Harris. And folks, we are back again. Busy time of the year for me, as always. We've got no other option but to just make it. So that's what we are going to do. Is today we take a look at NXT Takeover Brooklyn II from the WWE. NXT Takeover Brooklyn II was shown on the WWE Network on August the 20th, 2016 from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. There were 15,671 in attendance. We start out with an intro of NXT wrestlers talking about where they were 1 year ago and to be back in Brooklyn. Tom Phillips and Corey Graves welcome us to Takeover. They talk about what we're going to see. No Way Jose versus Austin Aries. No Way Jose out first with a conga line that is long. Aries out to a good reception, which surprises me. Flashback to what led to the match. The bell rings and they circle each other. Aries with a takedown, Jose up and backs Aries into a corner, and Austin Aries chant goes out. Jose slaps Aries. He takes Aries down. He slaps Aries down in the corner. They trade blows, and Jose knocks Aries down across the jaw and out of the ring. He hits a double axe handle from the apron, and they fight up the ramp. Jose throws Aries in, and Aries hits a back elbow on a charge. Jose goes up with Aries, and they battle on the turnbuckle. Aries guillotines Jose on the top rope. Aries on the attack. Jose hits an elbow from the second rope. Aries with a rear chin lock. Jose fights back. Aries gets a 2 count. Back and forth. Jose throws Aries over the top rope. Jose runs Aries into some turnbuckles from the apron. Jose with some double chops. Jose with the backdrop. Aries gets to the bottom rope. Aries comes back with a double shot into the last chancery. Jose struggles and gets to the bottom rope. Aries goes for the rolling elbow, and Jose catches him in a TKO. He gets a close 2 count. Aries sends Jose through the ropes. Aries hits a suicide dive that sends Jose into the barricade. He throws Jose in the ring. Aries with a running corner drop kick. Jose hits a modified Falcon Arrow for a 2 count. Aries with a rolling elbow, and Jose comes back with a clothesline. Aries hits a crucifix bomb and another drop kick for a 2 count. Aries goes up top but gets caught. They battle on the top rope. Aries hits a sunset flip bomb into the last chancery to get the submission. Aries then attacks Jose again. He gets interrupted by the returning Hideo Itami. Aries attacks him, and Itami comes back and hits the go to sleep on Aries as the crowd cheers. Ric Flair is shown in the crowd. Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura are shown in the back. Billie Kay versus Ember Moon. Kay out first. Moon gets a good reaction when she comes out. The bell rings. They circle each other and lock up. Moon with a hammerlock. Kay struggles. Moon with a hip toss. Kay grabs Moon's hair. Kay gets a takedown for a 2 count. Moon gets a crossbody for a 2 count. Kay with a takedown and a cover for a 2 count. They trade blows. Kay with an over-the-shoulder backbreaker. Moon breaks out of the hold. Kay gets a series of 2 counts back and forth. Moon with a back elbow. She hits a neck breaker and a suplex. She goes up top and hits a shooting stunner to get the pin. We get a SummerSlam ad. Bobby Roode is shown arriving. He puts down Brooklyn. We then get a feature on Roode. Bobby Roode versus Andrade Cien Almas. Roode out first, and his theme is a banger. He's incredibly over with the crowd. Andrade out to no reaction. The bell rings, and "This is glorious" chant goes out. Roode with a hammerlock. He follows it up with a snapmare. He works on Andrade's arm. Roode with a side headlock. They lock up and drive to a corner and break. Andrade comes back. He chops Roode. He hits a low drop kick and a head scissors. Roode goes out to regroup. Andrade hits Roode back and forth. Roode stomps Andrade. They chop each other. Roode with a suplex. He gets a 2 count. He stops Andrade again. He goes back to the side headlock. They trade blows again. Roode goes out and Andrade hits a springboard corkscrew plancha to Roode. Back in, Andrade hits a crossbody for a 2 count. He gets another one. Andrade beats Roode down in the corner. Roode comes back with a clothesline for a 2 count. Andrade blocks a suplex attempt. Roode hits another attempt. Andrade lands on his feet and hits a German suplex with a bridge for a 2 count. Another 2 count off of a roll-up. They trade shots. Andrade with a running knees to Roode. He follows it up with a big boot. And Roode comes back with a spine buster. He hits a glorious bomb to get the pin. We get a video of chaos that says Sanity is shown. The trophy for the Cruiserweight Classic is shown. The crew from Orange County Choppers and the Cruiserweight Classic are shown at ringside. DIY are shown in the back. We then get a feature on the next match. NXT Tag Team Championship match. The Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder versus DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. DIY out first to a great ovation. The Revival gets booed when they come out. The introductions are made and the belts are presented. Ciampa and Dawson start. They vie for position. They get to the ropes and break. Dawson complains to the referee. They trade wrist locks. Ciampa breaks up a tag attempt. They trade moves and counters. Dawson goes out to regroup. He gets back in and gets a side headlock on. More moves and counters. Ciampa with a series of shots. DIY taking over on Dawson. Gargano tagged in and hits double knees to Dawson in the corner into a clothesline from Ciampa. Gargano gets a 1 count. A Johnny Wrestling chant goes out. Wilder tagged in. Gargano with a wrist lock. Gargano with a running kick for a 1 count. Wilder with a slam. Dawson tagged back in. Gargano gets an armbar. Dawson responds with a back elbow. Wilder tagged back in and hits Gargano. Gargano out, and then all 4 men are in. They start brawling, and DIY gets the early advantage. The Revival roll out, and DIY hits suicide dives to them. Ciampa tagged in and taking both Revival members on himself. Dawson with a belly-to-back suplex for a 2 count. Revival attacking Ciampa in their corner. Wilder chops Ciampa, Dawson in, and hits the leg drop for a 2 count. Dawson with a rear chin lock, back and forth. Ciampa fights back. The Revival breaks up a tag attempt. Revival with double team move for a 2 count. Ciampa with a jawbreaker to Wilder off of a sleeper attempt. The Revival cuts off another tag attempt. They get a 2 count. Wilder with a rear chin lock to Ciampa. Gargano tagged in, but the referee didn't see it due to interference by the Revival. The Revival hit a backbreaker elbow. They get a close 2 count. Dawson with shots to Ciampa. Ciampa fires up. Dawson with a clothesline. Ciampa moves on a corner charge. Gargano tagged in. Dawson with a back elbow. Gargano with a roll-up kick to the side of the face. He gets a neck breaker and a 2 count. Wilder tries to take Gargano out on the apron, but Gargano avoids it and hits a spear on Dawson for a 2 count. Wilder tagged in and hits Gargano with a DDT for a 2 count. Dawson tagged in and DIY gets Wilder out, and Gargano gets a roll-up for a 2 count on Dawson. Ciampa tagged in. Ciampa gets an armbar on. Wilder makes the save. The crowd boos for the Revival with a double suplex. Gargano takes them both out, and Ciampa lands on Dawson for a 2 count. An NXT chant goes out. Ciampa and Dawson trade shots. All 4 in. It breaks down. Revival goes for the Shatter Machine. Gargano hits the super kick. Ciampa gets a close 2 count. Gargano tagged in. They hit the kick knee combo, and Gargano gets a cover. The referee counts to 3, but notices Dawson gets his foot on the ropes. Dawson is taken out, but he drags Ciampa out as well. Wilder clips Gargano's knee out from under him. They stomp the knee. Dawson gets the reverse figure 4 on. Gargano fights, but eventually has to tap out. Ciampa and Gargano are devastating. The crowd gives them a big ovation. WWE 24 ad about the Women's Revolution. Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch are shown in the crowd, and we get a feature on the next match. NXT Women's Championship match, Asuka versus Bayley. Bayley out first to a great ovation. Asuka out to a grand entrance. Bayley clearly the favorite. The introductions are made and the belt is presented. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up and vie for position. They shove off. Dueling chants go out. Bayley gets a couple of 1 counts. Bayley with a back elbow, and Asuka responds with a knee to the nose. Bayley goes down, and the referee is over to check on her. Bayley goes outside, back in. Asuka keeps the attack up. She ties the shoulder up in the ropes for a 3 count. She runs Bayley into a corner, back and forth. Asuka with a running kick to get a 2 count. They run each other into a turnbuckle. Bayley with a suplex and a back elbow. Bayley with a barrage of offense to get a 2 count. Bayley with another back elbow. Asuka comes back with a hip attack, which Bayley avoids. Bayley with a stunner through the second rope to Asuka. Bayley with a crossbody for a 2 count. Bayley goes up top. She misses a crossbody, and Asuka comes back with a shining wizard for a 2 count. Asuka puts Bayley on the top rope. Bayley tries to fight her off and slams Asuka in the tree of woe and hits an elbow drop for a 2 count. They push each other. They trade blows. Bayley and Asuka trade running knees. Asuka goes for the stretch muffler. They trade covers. Asuka with an ankle lock. Bayley urgently trying to get out. Asuka with a wicked overhead strike. She brutalizes Bayley. Bayley grabs the leg. Bayley with a backslide for a 2 count. Bayley with a front slam for a 2 count. Asuka goes for the Asuka lock. She gets it on. Bayley fights back. She gets the Bayley to belly for an incredibly close 2 count. Asuka gets the Asuka lock on again. Bayley gets to her feet quickly and flips over to get a 2 count. Asuka with a series of spinning heel kicks to finally get the pin. Asuka helps Bayley up and they hug after the match. The crowd gives Bayley a standing ovation and a thank you Bayley chant. She goes over and hugs Charlotte, Banks, and Lynch at ringside. NXT live ad. Samoa Joe is shown in the back being led by security and pushes one of them to the side that just happens to be MJF. Nakamura is then shown. We go to a feature on the main event, NXT Championship match. Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Mick and Noel Foley and Finn Balor are shown in the crowd. Nakamura is played out first by a live violinist. It takes a while. Joe comes out looking determined and takes his time getting to the ring. The introductions are made and the belt is presented. The bell rings and they circle each other. The crowd chants Nakamura's theme. They lock up and vie for position. They each have moves and counters. They drive through the ropes and break. Joe with a wrist lock. Nakamura comes back. More moves and counters. Joe with a side headlock. Nakamura comes back with a series of kicks and strikes. Joe rolls out to regroup. It goes out and they trade strikes to each other. Both stars get in. Joe with an enziguri. Nakamura with a running knee. Joe moves and Nakamura lands outside. Joe hits a suicide dive. Joe with a series of strikes. He gets a 2 count. And Joe is relentless. Joe with more knee strikes. Joe with a submission move. Nakamura gets to the ropes. Nakamura comes back. Joe takes him down and gets a powerbomb. Joe pulls up on the cover and gets a Boston Crab on into the crossface. Nakamura comes back and shifts to get a cover. Joe with an enziguri. Nakamura with the kicks of his own. Nakamura with a series of strikes. Joe with an inverted atomic drop. Nakamura moves on the senton attempt. Nakamura with a front face lock. He clips Joe's knees and hits several knee strikes back and forth. Nakamura fights off a muscle buster attempt and hits a big kick. Both wrestlers down. They exchange big strikes and Nakamura is knocked down. Nakamura goes for the cross arm breaker. Joe fights him off. Nakamura looks for the triangle. Joe comes back with a cloverleaf and Nakamura is forced to go for the ropes. Joe keeps going for the coquina clutch. He gets it on. Nakamura again gets to the ropes. Joe again goes for the muscle buster. Nakamura with a German suplex. He goes for the Kinshasa, only to get hit with a power slam by Joe for a 2 count. Both wrestlers down again. Joe hits the muscle buster for a 2 count. Nakamura powers out of another muscle buster attempt and hits the Kinshasa for a 2 count. Nakamura with another Kinshasa to get the pin and become the new NXT champion. He holds the belt high. Joe appears hurt. He celebrates as they sign off from Brooklyn. Final thoughts, a tremendous show that is well worth your time. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at The Joey Harris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia. We will talk to you next time.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.